New details surfaced today about how to get an eviction moratorium protection, as a lot of people now wonder whether Nancy Pelosi should be thrown out of her house. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Afternoons LALATE, and boy, it is a great day. Thank you for tuning in. Afternoons LALATE starts every day at 3:30 with the check, and then goes to hazard pay, then FPUC, and finally rent. It's part of our 3.5-hour programming block every day here on LALATE that starts early in the morning with mornings LALATE at 8:30 and goes all the way into the evening. Incredible great news about eviction moratoriums. You know, that eviction protection that was issued by the CDC earlier this week, and I have the details of what you need to do to ensure that you get that eviction protection. It's not a protection that'll keep Nancy Pelosi in her House of Representatives come after this fall battle. But here we go. This is Center for Disease and Controls and Prevention, CDC, issued an order last week that explained how you get this eviction protection. If you don't know what I'm talking about, no less than about 3 weeks ago, the president issued an executive order to create an eviction moratorium and mortgage forbearance. And it didn't do it right. It didn't create it. But last week, CDC took it upon himself by the inherent authority by that order to create an executive order. It's very unusual that CDC would be doing the executive order, but it is. This video explains to you how you get protection. It's not something that you just roll over and do nothing about. You have to do something for it. So I'm going to explain to you how you get protection under an eviction moratorium. An eviction moratorium means you cannot be evicted. You cannot be thrown out of your house or your apartment that you rent. It does not protect anyone in commercial space. It also covers a mortgage forbearance, which means you cannot be foreclosed upon by your bank in the house or apartment building you own. So let me go over the details. When the order came out, CDC explained to people how they do it. The housing stability helps protect public health because homelessness increases the likelihood of individuals moving into close quarters in congregated settings. What do I need to get this protection? All right. You either have to anticipate making no more than $99,000 this year, individual, or $198,000 joint tax return, were not required to report income in 2019, or received a stimulus check as part of the CARES Act. Okay, so this is totally new. This is totally new. This is why I got tuned into me every single day. I've never seen this before. So there's 3 ways to trigger eligibility. First, you got a stimulus check in the first round, or 2, you were not required to report income in 2019. It means basically you just didn't make any money, so you don't have to report income in 2019. Or 3, you made no more than $99,000 in this year, or $198,000 in your joint tax return. Now, what's interesting is I had read it was last year, so I want you to double check yourself. I mean, this is a report of a report, so I'm surprised it's referring to 2020, not 2019, but there you go. Next, you are unable to pay your rent in full because of a, quote, substantial cut in income, work hours, out-of-pocket medical expenses, or because you've been laid off. Okay, so this is like, doing an EIDL loan application or PPP loan application. There's a lot of it's also like a PUA. There's a lot of different thresholds to choose from. When you see an or in a sentence, it means you just need to have one of them. You don't have to have all of them. So you can have a salad if you had your breakfast, or you went for a jog, or you went to the beach. You only have to do one of those things to get the salad. All right, so you can get this protection if you had a cut in income, a cut in work hours, out-of-pocket medical expenses, or you've been laid off. So if you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, and you don't work, then you need to look at whether or not your out-of-pocket medical expenses are the reason why you can't make rent. If they are, then there you go. See, I'm trying to envision the scenarios for different walks of my viewers. If you're not on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, then if you've been laid off or you've had a cut in hours, I mean, these are basically PUA terminologies: reduced number of hours of work, or laid off, not and lay off, or laid off, then you qualify. Next, you're doing your best to make partial rent payments on time as close to full payment as you can afford. You've tried your best to receive any and all government assistance for rent, which could include through the city's rental assistance program. This is the provision I'm worried about. I'm not worried about that it's bad. I'm just worried about the people who forget to do it. You have to make an effort to apply for a grant program in your area, or look to see if there's a grant program in your area. So, for example, let's say you live in a city named Smallville, and they have a grant program, and the grant program you're eligible for, and it still has money, and you haven't gone and applied for it, and then you evoke this, and you say, I want some help. They're like, no, there was a grant program that had money in it. Why didn't you go get the money? Disqualify you. Yeah, I don't want that to happen. Now, the alternative, the reverse of that, is Smallville doesn't have any grant programs. So you went looking, Smallville has no grant programs, or they had them and they're run out of money, or you applied and you got declined, or there's nothing left, or there was only a few number of people who got the grant program. That's fine. You have to put an effort in. I'm worried about viewers who don't put the effort in and get denied because it requires at least an effort to find the money. Last, being evicted would likely mean you would become homeless or have to move into a crowded living situation. That's an easy one to do. That's a very easy one. Now, this article says CDC does not require you to attach proof of these requirements, but Heather Way, a professor at UT Austin School of Law, recommends you do have documentation ready in case you're challenged. Who else said that to you? Yeah, purple power. I said that to you. I said that to you because you know who's going to challenge it is your landlord. The landlord's going to say, oh, there was a grant program. Did you go apply for a grant program? It's over there. Did you go apply for the grant program? You're going to be like, yeah, I did. And it's ran out of money, so go jump in a lake. You know, that's what's going to happen. And she's exactly right. You don't want to not have any paperwork or just say, you know, I don't expect you to, to have I understand that, you have to report these stories in the context of what's going on. And the context of what's going on is that you're about to be homeless. You may not have a computer. You may not have a printer. You may not, have the ability to print out a document. You may not have money to go Xerox a page. But ultimately, what you need to do is keep copies of whatever you can keep it in the way you can keep it. So if you can download something on your phone, if you have a phone, you can download the document on your phone, then do it. If you can send an email on your phone, then do it. Anything that you can document it in a digital way that costs you less money, then do it. But really try not to do nothing, because that is what Heather Way says, and I agree. I've been reporting that for days. So what do you need to do? I would certainly start by downloading the CDC order and also downloading the CDC declaration they provide to you so you have a copy of it. I'll include a copy to the link to the CDC declaration in the description, not the pinned comment, but the description to this video. What you should also do is, if you received a stimulus check, get any type of paperwork that you can to verify that stimulus check, whether it was a bank deposit, receipt, or if you go to your online statement, it shows you deposit $1,200. Pull that, because that will be proof of eligibility for a second stimulus check. If you receive, first stimulus check. If you receive second stimulus check, certainly save that as well. That's also really good proof. Finally, if you have your 2019 tax return, get that ready, because that'll evidence of that you made $98,000 or less per year. If you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, or Railroad benefits and don't have to file taxes because you don't make enough money, then get evidence of your monthly receipts for that ready as well. The thing that you need to understand about eviction moratoriums is that there's a paperwork trail that you need to get ready and get it done, because landlords are going to say you're not qualified. That's just what they're going to do. They want to get you out, and they're going to say that you don't qualify. But the other thing you have to be worried about is that you don't do something else that will cause you not to be qualified. The twist and turn of the eviction moratorium is that there are provisions in there that allow the landlord to evict you that have nothing to do with rent. And yeah, so you got to be a good tenant. You have to be better than Chuck Schumer on Broadway. You have to be a good tenant. And some of the provisions that talk about are generally being loud, obnoxious, or endangering the health and safety of the landlord, which is just an open book. But you have to presume, and I'm going to make this very clear to you, very clear, for a lot of tough love, you have to presume the landlord's going to breach the CDC order, that he or she is not going to follow the CDC order, that they're going to flagrantly just do whatever they want and not even acknowledge the CDC order. You have to presume that, because landlords do that. They did it on the first stimulus check round. There was an eviction moratorium in place then, and they violated it. Harris, the VP nominee, had a big thing about this. She saw it rampant across the country. It's not an isolated situation. First, you have to assume they're going to violate the rule. Second, you have to assume they're going to claim you're not eligible for the rule. Third, after you get through both of those hurdles, then they're going to claim you should be evicted for another reason. If you have all those things ready, then you're going to win and you're going to be protected. Eviction moratoriums ensure that you're in your apartment to December 31st. And then what happens? Then you have to hope that Congress, the White House, come to their senses, because the real problem is that eviction moratorium gives you protection for evictions, but it doesn't provide you rent. And so you need a rent grant. And that rent grant, hopefully, will be in the third stimulus package to be debuted later in September by the Republicans, because the Democrats have it in their program. The Republicans have never had it in theirs. And it just seems sort of crazy, because delaying evictions doesn't solve anything if there's no money on the back end, because of multiple problems. One, if the tenant has no money, the tenant's going to be evicted in January, in the thick of snow, in the middle of winter. Second, if the landlord doesn't get any rent money from anyone, the landlord's going to lose their property to foreclosure. Third, the same thing's going to happen with people who own their own home but can't make mortgage payments. So you have a lot of issues, a lot of things coming up. And when it comes to rent aid, when it comes to rent grant, I have very little clarity for you at the moment, because Republicans and Democrats have given you very little clarity. You know, in a few couple of weeks in which there could have been a lot of talk of what people are doing in Congress for you, rent aid has been one of the discussions. They've not talked about it. And as a personal note, I saw in this morning's news here in Los Angeles, and everyone always says local news is more depressing than national news, or more graphic, or more shows fire and theft and burglary and shows a lot of horrible things. Well, this one was not graphic, but it was very real. It showed what's occurring in Los Angeles right now, which is called encampments, where you see entire 3 or 4 or 5 block city radiuses covered with homeless encampments, and they're happening everywhere. They're happening in prosperous areas. They're happening in middle-income areas. They're happening in all different areas. On the beach, near the beach, in a commercial area, in a residential area. They're happening everywhere. And the runaway encampments shows a failure of government. And so I hope that when a congressional leader goes back to their district and gets out of their bubble of Washington, D.C., of their comfy little, townhouse in Bethesda and their congressional dining hall and congressional gym, and they go back to their home state and they see rampant homelessness, they realize they've done nothing while people have become homeless and they're living in their cars and on the side of the road. With that, I always try to keep it real. And I always try to keep it positive, and I always try to keep it to the bone. And if there was ever a day to like and subscribe to this video in bitterly hot weather, it would be this one. I'm literally dying out here. So give the boy a subscribe and give him an alert. I wore the purple, and I'm literally Here's a tidbit. The camera's higher in frame because I'm literally drenched below frame. That's how I'm cheating on it today. You don't see how damn hot it is because it's outside of frame. So like this video and subscribe. First, go to the Funny Spread channel and subscribe and hit the alert button so you get an alert when a new video goes live. And finally, like the video because liking the video helps the algorithm and helps the video appear higher in the algorithm. Coming up this afternoon after this is Evenings LALATE. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, folks, stay focused, and save LA.